Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Man, I want to talk about, two really popular crankbaits that, when you're walking down that aisle and you're like, man, which one do I buy? Which one do I use? Or you've got some that you're like, which one do I tie on? That's what I was going to try to break down today. And to be specific, I'm talking about, this brand new bait called the Money Badger. And then, the Frittside. The Frittside's been around a while. Bobby Lane won the Red Crest on Grand last year on that exact color and bait right there. So, what we're going to try to talk about today is when do you throw this one versus this one or this one versus this one? So let's get started with it right off the bat.
From the top of the mountain.
The Frittside comes in 3 sizes. Well, really a lot more than that. There's a 5, a 7, and a 9. I've got this box here is a 5 box. They make a 7 with a little bit longer bill, a 9 with a little bit longer bill that gets a little bit deeper. They dive 5, 7, and 9 feet deep. They're very slim baits. They've got a belly weighting disc system in it that's very unique. They're silent. They don't have a rattle. And with that said, now they came out with a rattling version, but that's a little bit about the Frittside. They're a flat, subtle, tight action bait. I am going to throw the Frittside. Think about flatter stuff. Think about fish chasing shad or over grass. Think about not having to touch the bottom. This bait, it works perfectly great coming down the side of a dock, catching suspended fish, fish over grass, any of those kinds of things, like if they got off your lipless crankbait bite, the Frittside would be a bait that you could to pause it, let it sit there for a second, after, they've got off the lipless bite. It's a bait that you can back up to that. It's a bait that I do throw in really cold water all the way to warm water. If you remember back to 19 when I won the Red Crest on the Mississippi River, it was a summer fall time event, and I was catching them on this bait suspended over grass. So it's a bait that I want you to think about fish feeding up, a bait that maybe you don't have to have contact with, a bait that obviously represents shad, represents crawfish really well. This was the color that I was throwing up there at the Mississippi River. It's a shad pattern bait, so it works in both situations. And so those are some kind of the areas and the times that I'll throw this. Flatter banks, not having to make contact with the bottom. Now, when you get to the Money Badger, this 100% is a bait that I want to make contact with the bottom. I think of this bait as a deeper diving square bill. When you look at that bill, it's built for deflection. It's built for really, rooting around in the rocks. It's a bait built to get a little bit deeper. The sizes I carry are like a 6.25, a 6.75, and a 7.25. When you look at these things, a lot of crawfish patterns. These are baits that, again, I'm going to throw on 10 or 12 pound tests. I am going to throw on more vertical cover, more channel swings, 45-degree banks, riprap banks, things that I need that are more vertical, more up and down versus those flatter stuff for that Frittside. More places I'm going to make contact, rocks. I'm going to, if I am banging, a bait on rocks and the water's cold, trying to get a reaction bite, this is the bait that I'm going to throw. I'm going to reel it fairly fast, give it some pauses, 10, 12 pound test, get it a little bit deeper. So that's when you throw the Money Badger. It's for me, it's a bait that's I would say you can go either way, because I was trying to dive off into water clarity. So, for me, the Money Badger is a bait that I can throw in stained water, with these brighter colors. But then when choosing colors on both these baits, I really like, crawfish type colors in the spring, winter, spring, right in that time frame, I feel like that's a great color to throw. I feel like for whatever reason, bass key on those. You know, I've done some videos, you know, like when you see that red around a fish's mouth, that's when I go with red baits or crawfish colored baits. That's a really good thing, and that happens a lot in colder water. I think maybe there's more protein, you know, in that crawfish, or maybe it's a slower bait for those fish to catch, you know, when their metabolism slows down a little bit. I am going to pick the solid colors, you know, like those reds and with a big bright orange bottom. And, you know, those darker water, cloudier days, I'm going to go with the transparent colors in the cleaner water, sunnier days. That's what I'm going to choose. You know, a great color right there is that killer crawl. I just love that. That's very unique. It's got that blue on the back. So many times that blue triggers a bite for whatever reason. That's one of my favorite colors. It's kind of really a well-kept secret, but that's going to be a clear water bait. I know that's fairly bright, but you know, when I say clear water, 1.5 to 2.5 foot visibility. You know, when I get less than that, then I'm going to go with those brighter reds. You know, for me, spring crawl is a great dirty water bait. You know, foot visibility, 6-8 inches of visibility. That's when I'm gonna throw that spring crawl. So just remember, transparent colors, cleaner water, sunnier days. Darker colors, brighter colors, muddier water, cloudier days. You know, the money badgers, a wider wobble, bottom contact, more vertical bank bait. The Frittside's a tighter wobble, flatter, you know, situations, suspended more type bait, you know, fish feeding up versus fish feeding down. That's I kind of look at the money badger as I'm always going to be making contact with the bottom. The Frittside, I'm not. It's going to be a bait that I can bring down the front sides of docks, over grass, out off the ends of laydowns. You know, a bait that I'm going to pause a lot, almost like a jerk bait, much tighter of a wobble to it, a lot more subtle. So the biggest thing is, you know, don't get too big a line on either one of these baits. They're 10, 12 pound test line. You know, if you get to 14 pound test, it takes way too much of the action out of these baits. These are very Pacific, very finely tuned baits that operate the best on 10 and 12 pound test. When you get bigger line, it's more restriction through water. It deadens or dulls the bait, doesn't have the action that you will get on all these baits in 10 and 12 pound test. You know, the other thing is, when I think of the Frittside, it's very compact, it's very subtle, it's flatter banks, it's a slower presentation for me most of the time. When I think of the money badger, steeper banks, rocks, a little bit quicker presentation. It can be, you know, clear water, dirty water, it works in both. You're going to change your colors depending on what kind of water you're in. You're going to use your retrieve for the water temperature, but this is going to work in those colder waters, those rocky situations, and get your bait a little bit deeper. These things, you know, the 725, it's going to dive out to, you know, 11, 12 feet of water, where that the 675, the 625, you know, that's at 8, 9, 10 feet water range. So it's going to be getting deeper than most of those Frittsides are going to get also. So those are the things that I think about when I'm throwing these baits, and those are the situations when I'm going to have one tied on. I hope this video helps you to make your decision which one to tie on for your local body of water.